Hello and welcome back to another episode of Dear Jill. How are you feeling today, Emma?
I am good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good, actually. What are you holding in your hands?
In my hands, talking about feeling good today, I've had this little book that was gifted to me, and it's called 365 Days of Healing.
Oh.
And I got it at the start of the year to sort of, each day it gives you a little top tip or a little quote by someone to get you through literally anything. It's called A Daily Guidance for Finding Inner Peace.
Oh.
And me being me, I thought I definitely need to find
That's
it.
nice, yeah. So what does today say then?
Okay, so today, let's have a look. See, is it today? Today is a quote.
Right.
No other than Ed Sheeran. But I think you didn't be quoting Ed Sheeran today.
That very famous healer who lives in the Tibetan hills.
Ed Sheeran says today, I think it's very helpful to be able to speak with someone and just vent and not feel guilty about venting.
I agree. Do you think he's talking about an actual therapist there or just a friend?
I think it can be anybody, really. As long as you feel like you're getting it out. I don't care who the the person sitting there is, you know?
The thing that I like about it's just that sometimes people say, I've non-stop talked about myself. You know, sometimes you feel guilty, don't you, if you go and see a friend. You say, I've really, I've taken up all your time. The lovely, I mean, listen, if it's a good friend, they're like, no, not at all. You needed to get that out. And I will always say that, you know, to my friends, because you can tell, can't you, when someone rocks up and you're due to meet them and they have that look on their face like they just need to offload. And you go, here we go. And it's a really nice feeling that when you, sometimes you sort of almost, you know, like those pens that reveal a picture.
Oh, yeah.
You sort of almost see the energy and the despair kind of just sort of drop out a little bit, and suddenly they're relaxed and you're like, they're back in the room now. They've been able to get it out. And I always, I really hold dear those friends who I know I can do that with.
That's what I was going to say,
I've just got to tell you something. And it's just, you know, just hear me out. And it's just like, the relief.
It's a nice feeling to be the person that somebody goes to, you know what I mean? But also, if you're always the person somebody goes to, I've been on that end where you're
Who do you go to?
God, loads of people. Who do I go to? My friends.
Yeah.
I've got two main friends. One's a boy and one's a girl, so I can get two different
male
things.
and female. Do you find that male and female perspectives can often be very different?
Yes. I've got one mate that's just like, wait, doesn't matter then, does it? Why are you doing that? And then my girlfriends are like, oh, well, I see where you're going through. And they're more polite about it, but probably giving the same advice. Men are just direct. What about you?
Yeah, I think that too. I think that we've got loads of things we can learn from each other as the sexes, because sometimes you want men to listen more and maybe think a little bit more about what someone said and maybe give some more advice. And then at other times, we might be able to sort of take a leaf out of their book and go, out of the 10 things that are bothering me, there's probably 7 that I could just... I showed my boyfriend an email last night. He came in from work and I said, look at this. And he read it and he went, uh-huh. And I went, do you think I need to worry about that? And he sort of, he took my phone off me and he kind of looked at it. He read it again as if to say, I must have misread it. And he looked at it and he went, why? I went, because of what it says. And he was like, it doesn't say anything bad. I was like, does it not? And he was like, are you okay?
You're fine. I've told you I read every text angry. So maybe you had a sense of me there.
I did. I had a rise and panic because of who it was from. That feeling of being in trouble or that I need to do something. And, you know, and it's so funny. And just one other person's perspective is just no, you're fine. And then you just go, And it just sort of like just drains out of you. And you're like, oh, thank God I don't just live in my own head all the time.
Oh, God, that would be a dangerous place.
Wouldn't it?
Would. Yeah. Yeah.
Have you ever been on a silent retreat?
It's me on a silent retreat, Jill. Come on.
I know, you are spiritual.
You
And you are,
I've
you know,
never.
no.
No, you?
No, I haven't. And I have to say, I think I would be really challenged by that. Just the idea of for 5 days straight, like not talking to anyone. Just, I mean, you're around people, obviously, but you're silent. And I really think I would find that hard. And maybe one day I'll give it a try just to see what might come out of it. But
what's the point of one then? To just like be with your thoughts and be sort of...
I think to get, you know what we were talking about just then about you meet someone and you need to get it off your chest. I think the point of silent retreats is you move through that. You realise that you never needed to really get it off your chest and that you can work these things out, or maybe they don't even need worked out. You know, maybe that you can just bring yourself to a point of knowing exactly what is needed and when and what you need to react to and what you don't need to react to. But I think that's what I mean. I think
oh, no.
The first 3 days I'd be like,
oh, God. Biting your tongue. I can't talk about this.
Texting the person next to us. Do you want to run? Shall we just like run away and have a conversation?
I'm not allowed to talk. Yeah, that would be a challenge, definitely, 100%. Honestly, do you want
one day though? I would like to do it.
Go on, another quote. So we've had our very, spiritual Ed Sheeran. I've put some notes in to ones that I like. Mm-hmm. Emma Stone.
Yeah.
She says, everyone experiences a version of anxiety or worry in their lives. There's nothing wrong with you. Well, I could have said that. Thanks, Emma. From one Emma to another. And see if we've got any more nice quotes. David Tennant. Let's see if he's got one.
Is it the Celebrity Book of Healing?
It's all going to be okay, but it's up to us to make it okay. It's time to be positively rebellious and rebelliously positive.
See, I love David Tennant. I think he's got a lot of good things to say. Do you want to hear 2 stories about David Tennant?
Go on, hit me.
Very, very, very long time ago, I was at my friend's party, and unbeknown to me, David Tennant was one of her best friends. This is pre-Doctor Who days.
Okay.
It was a house party, just sat in the kitchen chatting, and this guy comes in, and he sits next to me, and we'll have a chat, and all I remember thinking is, wow, he's incredibly enigmatic. He was just talking in the way that everybody else was talking. He wasn't saying anything particularly profound. He was just very interesting and interested. And he was, just chatting around the room. And I said to my friend, oh, who is that? And she said, oh, that's my friend David Tennant. Like I say, before Doctor Who. And it was probably about a year or 2 after that everything blew up. So that was my very first impression of him. I'm like, you are definitely enigmatic. There's something about you. And then 10 years after that, when he was, really famous and everybody knew who he was, I was in a show that his father-in-law was in. And he came backstage one day, and unbeknown to me, he was doing a bit of work. And I happened to be doing a bit of like rehearsal or something. I can't really remember why I was there. It was through the day. And I came into the wings and I saw him and I said, oh, David. And he looked at me and I said, we have like a friend in common. It was the friend whose party I was at, and I was about to sort of say, and I could see, bless him, he was being like dragged away by the person that he needed to do the work for. And he went, yeah. And we sort of mentioned the girl's name, and then off he went. And I swear I didn't really think anything more of it. 2 days later, a handwritten letter arrived at the theatre. Jill, I'm so sorry that I didn't get to speak to you properly. I was being pulled away. Really sorry. That must have appeared really rude and I was like, this guy is so lovely. Like, he did not need to write. I genuinely didn't have any negative feelings about it. I could absolutely see he was being pulled away to do something. I've had that done to me before. I totally understood. I was the one that sort of accosted him anyway. But how lovely. And you know what? I think just across the board, there are just not there's no one I know that doesn't know him or have worked with him that hasn't got the highest of regard for him.
Oh,
yeah.
Do you still have the letter?
No, I don't think I do.
Come on.
I don't think I do. That's a really good point.
See, you could have had that forever and say
that's David. Yeah. I don't think I do. But yeah, just what a lovely person. Like I mean, I barely know him, and that's like just on the outskirts. 2 amazing sort of interactions with him where you just think, yeah, I would like to work with him one day. I'll put it out there.
There you go. Manifest it.
Me and DT.
DT, the return. We think it might be rebelliously positive or whatever that said. Good guy. I don't think I'm going to get another better one, so let's crack on.
I think you can't get higher than that.
No, I cannot.
No.
Dear Jill, my name is Libby, and today is the first anniversary of my dad's death. So it's a sad day, and I do feel sad that he's died, but we had a very strange relationship. We weren't particularly close. So while I do feel sad today that he's gone, he's no longer with us, I don't feel like I'm grieving for somebody that I should love and be close to. But instead I feel like I'm just grieving for a stranger, because like I said, I had a very strained relationship with my dad. He was a dad, but he wasn't a dad. It's okay to feel a bit numb, but not too sad about his passing.
Yeah, Libby, I'm really sorry. I think complex grief can be really confusing. You've lost someone, and society tells you should feel a certain way because of how you were related to them. But like you say, that's not the relationship you had. And I think from what I've learned and from what I've been taught by other people with this kind of situation, is that what is probably the most healing thing for you to do is to grieve the relationship that you didn't have, to grieve the things that your dad wasn't able to give you. Because like you say, you can still honor him as a person, and you're sad that person is no longer here. But the deep sadness and the deep pain, and the one that will keep you feeling a bit stuck, is the one where you have to go, I have to grieve for the person I wanted him to be. I have to grieve for the relationship that I didn't have, that I always wanted to have. And that's all right. You're allowed, everyone's allowed to grieve for the thing that they didn't have. And in doing that, you'll still be honouring your dad as he was, as the person he was. But you'll also be looking after yourself as well by allowing that part of you, the child part of you and the adult part of you that just never had that connection. It was, when I lost my dad when I was 4. So I had to, it was very hard I was very confused because I was trying to grieve for somebody when I got older who I didn't really know. It was really, really confusing. So then what I started to learn and what I started to realize was that I could also grieve for the time we didn't have, for the relationship that I would have hoped would have blossomed and become something, and for all of the situations that he wasn't able to be there for me, and all of those seminal moments when you get, walk down the aisle and things like that. So that's okay. Like, having a complex relationship with someone and then losing them, it's not weird that you don't feel a certain way, but you can allow yourself to grieve the thing that you didn't have that you wished you'd had. And it's a bit more of a tricky journey, but you know what? There's so many of us out there who've also walked on that path, and reach out. Try and connect with people who might have the same story as you as well. And you'll find that people have walked that path, and they will say, no, I feel exactly the same as you, and this is what I did. And but yeah, always be in contact and be aware of that part of you that didn't have those needs met, Because that's how you heal. You kind of go back to that part of yourself and you go, that little girl or that teenager or that young woman, she needed that person or that kind of person and she didn't have them. And that's okay, because we don't always get what we want. But you can say, but, I wish she had her. I feel for her, and I can grieve that she didn't have those moments that she wished she had. And hopefully that will start to make you feel more whole again, because you won't be denying a part of yourself. You'll be accepting something that wasn't there, but grieving it. And then suddenly, for me anyway, this is what happened then that gap, that sort of gaping hole of like, what is this? How can I be so sad about losing a person that I don't even really know much about? Then once I started to understand that I was grieving for all the things that we didn't have, weirdly, I started to feel like I really knew my dad more and more. So I'm hoping that, that'll happen for you as well. But yeah, it's a challenging journey, but you'll be okay. And the fact that you've reached out already to me and chatted about it now is a good sign that you're going to be all right.
Dear Jill, my name's Sarah and my mum died 4 years ago. Dad is interested in a new lady for the first time. It's Valentine's Day, he bought the lady flowers and chocolate, and I'm struggling to accept this. Even though I want my dad to be happy, I can't help but feel like he's betraying my mum. What should I do?
Okay. I understand it's really, really hard for you to see your dad with another woman. I understand that you might think that timeline-wise it's too soon. I understand that you might not be able to comprehend how your dad could be involved or intimate with somebody else that isn't your mum. I really, really, really understand where you're coming from. But your dad is allowed to continue with his life. And if his life involves another woman, then so be it. We can't freeze ourselves in time when we lose someone. We can't think that because that person isn't there, then there must be a gaping hole left and nobody. It's not even that your dad's trying to fill that hole. He's not. It's a completely different person. And I speak slightly from experience. I mean, it's not the same situation, but obviously when I lost my partner, there were times where I was thinking, how can he ever be replaced? And the fact is, you don't replace anyone. You don't swap someone out for another one. It's just it's a different person. It's a different path. It's a different chapter. It's a different time in your life. And that's really all your dad's doing. And, in some way, I have a lot of respect for that, because what that means is he still values himself. He still values the fact that he wants to have a life and he wants to live that life. And that life involves loving someone else or even just having fun with someone else. I don't even know if he's in love with them. And it's harder for you because the picture you see doesn't involve that person. That's not the picture that you've grown up with. But this is where, as an adult, you have to look at your parent and you have to really try and understand that, yes, he is your dad, but he's also a man. He's also a person. He's a human being living his life. So he is your dad, but he's many, 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 many other things as well. And you have to really work really hard at seeing his whole life, the full person, not just you and your dad and that relationship. And he's going to be hurting very, very much too. This is not a sign that he's over it, as some people say. He's overcome it. That's not how it works. You don't get over it. You just walk alongside it all the time. And if he wants to walk alongside it with someone, that's his journey. And I think although I really do understand, I really empathise with you, I do. I think you have to work really hard at seeing him as a full life, as a person who wants to live like across the spectrum of different relationships in his life. And hopefully if you see it like that, then you'll see it as less of it's a betrayal. It's not a betrayal at all. You can't betray somebody who isn't there. You know, that's something that we do to keep our loved ones who we've lost, like, up on some sort of pedestal where they're sort of a deity. Oh, you know, you mustn't do that because that would... No. If there is such a thing as an afterlife, they're like, listen, do what you need. Do what you need to make you happy. That's my belief. Do what you want. Go and make mistakes and be in love again and do all of those things. I can't imagine that anybody wouldn't want that for someone. So I know it'll be a tricky terrain for you to walk, but I think it's really worth being as open-hearted and as generous as you possibly can, because your relationship with your dad is precious. So make sure that you don't find ways to cut it off. I think, yeah, but yeah, good luck with it all. And thank you.
It's interesting because we've had so many men call in to say, I don't want to move on because I don't want my son or my daughter or my person feeling like I've moved on or I'm betraying them. I think Sake, he called in and didn't want to put himself forward because his son might feel this way. However, we've got somebody on the other end. And I know your advice was always to the person going into the new relationship was you need to be honest and open with your son or daughter. However, is it in Sarah's case a job for her dad to pick up on, or is it her to make that first move?
I think they should both be talking to each other as openly and as honestly as possible. And I think they should try and, as much as they can, leave judgment at the door and just try and understand each other a bit more. Yes, he can understand it from her position and she's got to understand it from his position and kind of say, it's a bit uncomfortable for me, this. I'm finding this really hard, but I'm not saying that I want you to stop, or I'm not saying that I don't want to see you because of it. I'm just saying this is really tricky for me. And I think that's okay. I think that's completely fine. I think it is tricky. I think it's always difficult, you know. I grew up, you know, my dad died and then we had a stepdad, and he had to integrate into our family, and, you know, you had to watch that relationship being different to the one before, and it's not easy stuff. But it would be such a shame to think that, or I wouldn't have wanted my mum to ever have shown me the lesson of, look at me, aren't I so good for never looking at another man or never being with another man because I'm so devoted to the man who I lost and who died. Well, that's not a lesson I want to learn. I want to see the lesson. You can go on, you can be happy, you can have lots of different people in your life and receive love in lots of different ways. That's the way I see it. You have one life. It's not that long. And you gotta grab it by the horns.
Great. Our next voice note is from Shirley.
Dear Jill, my partner passed away in January. We weren't married. If we had been, I would have been a widow. But only being his partner, I feel like I'm nothing. It seems really strange as we were together for nearly 25 years. Thank you, Shirley.
Well, I do have some personal experience with this, Shirley, so I do know what you're talking about. I was with my partner only for 2 years. So you were with yours for a lot longer. But weirdly, the way people react to you not being married is very strange, isn't it? people would say, oh, you've lost your partner. Were you married? No. How long were you with them? I say 2 years. Oh, okay. And it was almost like, oh, well, you weren't married, you were only with them 2 years. And I'd be thinking, wow, is that like some sort of like limit? Is there a certain amount of years you're supposed to be with someone before it is like bad enough? And with you, like you say, in the eyes of the law, there's not a lot of power there because you weren't married. And the thing you have to do, you've got to do this. You can't let society or the way other people react to your loss. You cannot let that affect it. I had to keep reminding myself time and time and time again, I know what we had. I know how we felt about each other. I know the things we used to say to each other. I know what we wanted for our future. That's what's important. You would have known that person better than anyone. 25 years, you would have known that person inside out. So don't let anything in the way like society's structured and legal documents and things like that, or anyone's commentary on the fact that you weren't married, don't let that get in the way of your grief, because you've got a really difficult journey ahead of you. And it's going to be really tough. And what you do not need is to be pulling yourself down or telling yourself, well, you know, I don't matter. I was just the girlfriend. No, you were each other's chosen partner. You were each other's soulmates. You had chosen to be together for that long. And I'm sure you would have been together for the rest of your life had he not passed away. So I do know it's challenging, that feeling, and I really do speak from personal experience. There was a few situations I had very early on after Matt died where there were some really hurtful things that were said to me that made me feel like I was just a girlfriend. I found it so painful. It's almost like you feel like you've been pulled apart. You feel like you've been ripped apart. And then you feel like somebody just wants to just, you know, pour a bit of poison inside. You think, why? But I think people get very possessive about their positioning of the person that's gone. Who's the closest? Who was this? Who was that? And all you need to know is what you know about your own relationship. You concentrate on that. If there's anybody that makes you feel any less than what you know, you can either, it's your choice, you can either say that wasn't the case, that's not how it was, this is how we felt about each other, or you can just take no notice of them. It's hard, but you can just close that sort of conversation down and just let them think what they need to think. But the thing that I found particularly hard was having that strength and like clarity of mind to do that whilst I was also on my knees. And I just thought, I just don't know if I've got the strength to do this, but for the most part I did. And now when I look back on it, I feel really proud and I feel even closer to Matt because I stayed strong with that, because I didn't let anyone tell me I meant less to him than I knew that I did. So I really feel for you. I really feel like I really understand where you're coming from. But, you know, grieving's going to pull you apart and, you know, feel like you're being, you know, dragged around in a storm. And what you don't need is any other level of you being pulled down or being questioned or being made to feel anything less than what you are and what you two had. So just keep reminding yourself of that. Only you know. Only you know what you had. And that's the only thing that's important. Keep talking to him as well. Keep talking to him. That's what I did. I just kept saying, you know, people are saying this and this is what somebody said to me today and that really hurt and blah, blah, blah. And I just kept saying it out loud and kept having conversations with him. And that really helped me. So I hope that helps you. Thanks, Shirley. There were some tricky questions today. There were some heartfelt questions today, and my heart really does go out to you all who are really suffering and who have lost your loved ones. But yet again, I have like the utmost respect and gratitude for you for calling in and sharing that with us, because I really mean this when I say it, and I think Emma will agree. It actually helps us being able to listen to you guys and say these things out loud. It's like you kind of tell yourself, yes, you do need to do that, or you remind yourself of something you haven't been doing. So thank you. I'll see you next week.